And as we had given you a brief preview, we are still waiting for that live footage of the farewell ceremony to come, as we would like to deliver that live to our
Usually
viewers.
they've been very prompt and ahead of us. They caught us off guard, but this time it's time for us to sit back and recap on some of the interesting events that happened. Let's refresh our memory with the latest event that captured our attention, with the two leaders taking to the podium and proposing a toast and delivering a very impressive speech, different in length and duration, but similar in terms of impact and touching our hearts.
That during a banquet, during the dinner that we just saw, as we can see on screen now, we are looking at the site of the banquet where the leaders of both Koreas had given their own speeches. South Korean President Jae-in started his toast by saying that he even called the North Korean leader a companion, saying that the two would like to hold phone calls frequently so that the two would eventually hold summits together down the line. And President Moon also said the two will walk together in one direction moving forward. So in direction of peace, I'm assuming. Very reconciliatory mood during that dinner banquet.
The continued reconciliatory mood, I believe, even while they were walking aimlessly through the gardens or the woods. They seemed quite content, and they seemed to be in no need of a GPS. They were very engaged in dialogue, and yeah, it's interesting because there were no aides or security around them. It was just a candid talk between the two of them. It was a very packed schedule because normally in the past, the 2007 and 2000 summits, it was a more than two-day event. And still, we've had some minor hiccups or minor abrasive moments between the two leaders, eager to cut to the chase and touch on the urgent matters because they feel the pressure. They feel they are racing against time. But look at these two leisurely strolling around, probably exchanging views and ideas about trivial topics and discussing about all that's surrounding them, the beauty that surrounds them, which is relatively abandoned in terms of the two Koreas. This is an area that's looked to as some place that's a clear dividing line that sets apart a nation in two, not by our choice, but due to circumstances, history, and external powers in many ways.
And this is also another significant in a way that we barely see two leaders holding talks separately in the woods or whether it be someplace else. But because when we do have a summit between the leaders of another president and with South Korean President Moon Jae-in, we do go through a signing of the agreement and holding handshakes and doing a photo shoots together. But this type of things we don't see with we haven't seen it before. So
something extra. Because this is something that's unprecedented. Again, we cannot highlight enough the fact that this is the first time a North Korean leader, a sitting North Korean leader, has crossed over the border. Every time we had a chance to hold summit, it was our leader, our president, being invited up north due to possibly security concerns. They are called the hermit kingdom or the reclusive regime for a reason. They feel they are in danger, or they do not want to risk being exposed. But certainly this is a drastic turnaround and a strong statement coming from the North Korean leader. A very welcome message of willingness to show the world who he is in the flesh.
A lot is different from the previous inter-Korean summits we've seen. First of all, the leader is extremely younger than what we've seen before. The predecessor leader, Kim Jong-il, and the founder of the North Korean regime, Kim Il-sung, was much upper in their age group when they held summits with the South Korean leader, then former leader, the Kim Dae-jung, and former President Do Mu-hyun now. But we are seeing a huge age gap between the two leaders of the two Koreas.
It is a rather interesting generation gap they might have to overcome. But it seems like they're getting along nicely. And considering that this is the first time they're making contact, it feels like they've known each other for quite a long time.
And that is the live footage that we've been all waiting for the past couple moments. That is the farewell ceremony of the two Koreas, the leaders of the two Koreas, and actually a farewell ceremony for the leader Kim Jong-un, who will be heading back to North Korea in a short while. We are seeing two first couples walking down the red carpet set up at the PANMUNJOM, located on the border village of the PANMUNJOM, which is a rare occasion.
Walking out
for
on the
summit.
southern side of PANMUNJOM, the Peace House, and the red carpet, very vivid and visible. I wonder how it would be reused later on, possibly auctioned off or kept in a museum. Speaking of red velvet, isn't that one of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's favorite K-pop groups?
That was one of the K-pop groups.
Perhaps that is one subliminal message or welcoming message South Korea is trying to roll out for the important visitor.
And all the people surrounding the first two couples are clapping for joy with smiles on their faces, something that reflects today's summit and how it all went, with the PANMUNJOM declaration being rolled out, and we are seeing the entire delegations from both Koreas and seated.
Right, for a special farewell ceremony, possibly a performance or perhaps an important farewell speech, message.
We are being told that they will be viewing a video clip on something about peace on the Korean Peninsula as well.
Well, Kim Jong-un's father, Kim Jong-il, was known to be a huge movie buff, so this may be in some way a tribute to the late North Korean leader as well.
And also part of today's farewell ceremony will be a small orchestra playing with South Korean or the Korean traditional percussion quartet, 사물놀이, also known as 사물놀이 in Korean. So they will be going through this video clip and we'll listen to some of the musical performances. And then once that all wraps up, the first couple of South Korea will walk the North Korean leaders.
Let's listen to the performance right now. Yeah, this is playing Arirang.
Quite a scenic view. We don't see those performances on the border village of PANMUNJOM. It's highly guarded by both militaries of the two Koreas.
But a majestic display of sight and sound performance to delight the senses. A 4D experience, if you might add.
Something that the two Korean officials had been preparing in the weeks and the days' time leading up to today's summit, holding dress rehearsals a couple days ago, and this might have been one of their agendas that they wanted to straighten out.
It's interesting to note that the rather aging, rather senior officials were busy with this very upbeat, cultural, hip performance for the two leaders.
It's like a cherry on top. It's like the final performance that comes together, that wraps things up for the two Korean leaders' summit today.
Man, this is beautiful. It looks like, it feels like an extension from the inspirational and very moving performance we've had in terms of using digital technology during the ceremonies of Pyeongchang Winter Olympics.
That was the Korean traditional percussion quartet of 사물놀이 that I was just talking about. Also playing in tune with the piano, with playing the song of traditional song Arirang.
Right, quite a nice fusion combination of East and West, and modernity meets classics, making a casually dramatic late entrance to keep you on the edge and delight the viewers as well. we are watching this, witnessing this from a very tiny monitor here in our studio. I can't imagine how moving and how awe-inspiring it would be to be there at the site, soaking it in.
That's right. Too many colors to a place that we have not seen before. That place, the highly guarded joint security area, was where we only had military personnel going back and forth because it was highly guarded. It's also a border of a country. That's why we had not seen such performances taking place at the Truce Village. But today, on the day of the third official Inter-Korean Summit, and wrapping up the day of the summit, we are seeing this live performance being held by South Korea.
A butterfly flying freely across the fences, symbolizing the willingness and the eagerness of two Koreas to have no barriers, to be able to move inside and outside and back and forth as North Korean leader Kim Jong-un proposed during his toast.
Just in tune with the PANMUNJOM declaration that they have announced a couple hours ago. And once this performance by South Korean officials, once this farewell ceremony comes to an end, the first couple of South Korea will be walking the first couple of North Korea to the vehicle that they came in, which is near the borderline of the demarcation line. And then we will see goodbyes from the both leaders.
More like till we meet again, hopefully, instead of goodbye. They did mention how they would love to continue to call each other anytime, anywhere, and stay in touch. It was good to see both sides lifting each other up higher and giving a lot of praise to each other, not just to their respective counterparts, but to the staff and the people involved and those who are attending that event itself, and also people like you and I, the journalists and reporters and the media who have been hotly anticipating and covering this monumental event.
And from today on, it looks like that area of the performance where the performance is being held, the joint security area, also the border village of PANMUNJOM, will likely have a different symbol to both Koreas. That's the place where we used to see a lot of highly guarded military personnel, but now a symbol of peace, bringing the two Koreas together.
It looks like it's finally, for this long day that felt also like a split second if you look back. So much significance, a possible strong turning point for Korea. I won't say to Korea's, but for Korea itself. And we are watching them walk away from the red carpet as we bid them farewell till we meet again.
Till we meet again, that is. And even when they separate tonight, the leaders have promised that they would continuously hold talks on various levels, so they would continue this momentum of warmed relations between the two sides.
Right, it seems like it takes a lot more work to thaw the relations between two sides that are so closely linked and so much similarity, basically the same root. It's just so hard to work things back to how things used to be after a falling out. We should be firmly reminded that this very dynamic moment, this very spontaneous build-up to talks, thawing of relations and opening up, giving each other a second chance. This is something we should constantly remind ourselves, especially after watching that very breathtaking performance reminding us that we are one.
And all of the faces that we see on screen they've got their smiles on their faces, even though it was a long and hectic and busy day for all of them, I bet. They seem to be satisfied with the outcome the Inter-Korean Summit had brought throughout the entire day, including the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, which something that we don't see often on his face.
Right, it's a rare sight indeed, and hopefully a familiar sight that we will see constantly that will sort of match faces when it comes to thinking about the North Korean leader. All smiles, eager, open up, and very brisk and precise to the point in terms of delivering messages of peace and reconciliation.
And the first couple seem to be delivering their farewell for the night.
We're not receiving any confirmation of gift exchanges. I guess that might have been a little bit tedious considering the sanctions that's still keeping North Korea in check and under pressure. I can't lie that I was feeling a little bit stressed out and tired as we had to be here all day, all night, but watching this moment, being a part of history in the making, and helping our viewers make sense of it and understand the gravity, the importance and significance of this moment, reminding them of how important a turning point this is for Korea and the world, it makes the efforts all the worthwhile.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and First Lady Lee Sol-ju leaving the border village of PANMUNJOM from the southern side of the border, that is. We are seeing that vehicle carrying those two first couples leave South Korean soil.
It feels like just hours ago when the two leaders were casually, jokingly switching back and forth, stepping inside a crossover and just showing the world that this is nothing. This is just a line that anyone can and should cross.
And with today's summit and with all those series of events that we've seen today, they did make that demarcation line seem like it was
insignificant.
Insignificant indeed. And from this summit and on, we are going to be seeing more of these amicable relations coming from North Korea, as we are also expecting more summits to be taken place regarding this recent diplomatic thaw on the Korean Peninsula.
Hopefully not a full stop or a ... but not a crescendo, not an exclamation mark, but a continuation with more blank pages for us to fill together.
Now, the vehicle carrying the first couple of North Korea has entered the soil of North Korea. Now they are heading back to Pyongyang, which is about a little over an hour or closer to 2 hours away from the borderline of PANMUNJOM.
The Secret Servicemen must be very fit and very synchronized, I must say.
That was also the moment that captured a lot of journalists' eyes, because the moment the leader Kim had broken off for lunch, that's the scene that we saw a little hours ago. And now we are seeing President Moon Jae-in saying his goodbye to his top officials.
It's time for the two leaders to go separate ways and let it all soak in. I mean, even for them, probably this might feel like a dream.
And what a successful day it has been for the South Korea, for both Koreas, and who had been, in the works of prepping for this big summit day that everybody had been counting their days off.
Right. The world simply counted this possibility of reconciliation between the two Koreas out. Many skeptics felt that, will he even show up? Will this even happen? Or will the talks actually be held properly? Could there be a falling out? Could it actually work against building a more positive relationship for the two Koreas? But we proved them wrong, and I look forward to proving the skeptics wrong again and again in the time to come.
And with that, the official third inter-Korean summit schedule, a packed one full day, has now come to an end.